Hey, what is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday to you as we barrel down this last week of May, last week of school. I bet you, Jason, Alex, you guys can't wait to have these kids home all summer long, right? You guys are counting down.
Daddy daycare, man. For me, it's back to the old school ways, man.
I need some of my kids to start flunking classes so they have to go to summer school. Get them out of the house.
Do they even still do summer school anymore, Jason? Is that still
I
a
don't
thing?
even know.
I don't even. It's hard to flunk, right? They don't even take home books anymore, man. Right? It's hard to flunk school, but
I don't even know what their grades are now. Or you get those report cards. We've talked about that before. They get like a 1, a 2, a 3. It's just like I don't know what it even means.
They don't even send report cards home for my kids. It's like you have to go online to check their scores. And of course, I'm always like, I do it like 2 months late, and I'm like, "Hey, kid, what happened here?" Like you're like, bad grade, but they don't even send report cards home anymore.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. My kid is apparently going to go to the next grade. I have no clue how because I don't keep up with anything. I don't know what the hell he's doing to learning. I literally don't know. I'm just like, well, hopefully these tax dollars are helping and go into the Leander ISD because I don't know what the hell he's learned all year long. Just to be honest with you. He does have a Wednesday folder, but nonetheless, intro part. Welcome to the weekly Modcast. I'm your host, filling in for Jeff Ketchum. I'm Amar Richardson. We have Jason Sukamel. We have Alex Dunlap. And making his Modcast debut will be our baseball writer, Aaron Little. Aaron, how are you doing? I think this is the first time at least all three of us have met you, at least me. How are you?
I know. Yeah, no, I'm doing good. Definitely good to make the Modcast debut. I was joking with Jason before the show. You guys had never seen me in person. I could be just a bot lurking in the Slack, lurking on the boards. But yeah, man, good to be here. Good time to be talking some Texas, and it's a big time in baseball season.
One day, Aaron, you'll progress to the point where he puts your last name on the screen because everyone else has one except you. So we'll just call you Aaron.
Yeah, I think that was my bad. Actually.
That's okay. It's all good. And obviously this thing is being brought to you by Dead Soxy. 30% off using the promo code Orangebloods. All of us are Dead Soxy fans. Jason's a Dead Soxy person. Alex is a Dead Soxy person. I, of course, love when I get dressed up. I'd love to put on my Dead Sox. They also got some casual stuff that you can wear as well. They've just the material is great. I know we sound like we're old folks talking about socks, but I'm guaranteeing you these socks are better than anything you've ever gotten. So look, Father's Day is right around the corner. And look, for whether you're a father or you're a woman trying to do something for your man, get him some Dead Soxies. That's going to be something I guarantee you is going to be a gift that he appreciates. Use the promo code orangebloods.com to get that 30% off discount. Hey, listen, guys, we are going to be doing a buy or sell today. Ketch and I did this recently. It went over incredibly well. So there's a couple of things. I want you guys in the chat to get your buy or sell questions ready. Go ahead and start shooting those things to us. The easiest way, sometimes you want to skip to the front of the line. Obviously, a super chat will always get our attention. But some of the things, look, you've got the benefit of having Jason on here to answer all your recruiting questions. And if you want to know why Texas only has 3 people committed, what's going on with Micah Hudson, everybody else, if you just want to blame Jason for it, and if is he the problem with recruiting, buy or sell, we can start there, but Jason's there. Obviously, Aaron, if you got some baseball questions, don't leave him out. None of us are capable of answering any of your baseball questions. Let's just be honest. Jason could maybe do it. Alex and I will tap out.
I can't. Not this year. I let those guys do all the heavy lifting in baseball this year.
Yeah, we got like
5. Is it about time to start watching again, though?
Yeah, that's right. It's postseason time, Alex. So get your TV fired up for tomorrow, man.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, and of course, if you got some football questions, the bunch of us, we could obviously answer that. Alex can answer it. I can answer that. And we would go from there. So we've got Rodolfo, who's always number 1 in the chats. Buy or sell. Alex gives his kids candy on the first day of summer.
I'll let you guys answer that first because I know my answer and I know what the answer is.
I'm pretty sure I can answer for Alex. That's a big no for Alex. I think I know.
We don't know. I don't know if the kids get ice cream in Alex's house in the summer. Like I don't even know. Are they allowed to get that kind of sugar in the house, Alex, at all?
If they want to make their own popsicles out of fruit juice, they can do that.
Wait. So when they go out to like the pool area, and kids are like, oh, whatever. So, or if you hear the little ice cream guy in the neighborhood and you hear the little thing, like that's a big no, right?
Well, that ice cream guy doesn't drive out to where I live, but yeah, man. I mean, if the kids are at the pool, man, they're gonna be the ones with the homemade pop. Everybody else has the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle like green popsicles, man. My kids will have one that's made out of cranberry juice.
Alex is like the old school, like the ice tray, and then like you put cellophane over that, and you put like a toothpick in there. So his kids are holding a toothpick.
Oh yeah,
He's like a red ice cube.
Yeah.
Their popsicle. Yeah.
Totally, man. They're the coolest kids at the whole pool.
So you would love it because where I live, Alex, they have like a little like cantina or whatever where they sell like food at the pool and drinks and of course ice cream and things to that effect. So every day, when we're out there at the pool, my kids are out there. Like they're out there getting their stuff. They know the kid. And it sucks because now summertime comes and my bill gets a lot higher. It multiplies. So now I probably like $100 and snap $150. So your kids would not be a part of that. And I totally 100% understand that. All right, let's get to some buy or sell questions. I know we got some old ones here. I guess we got one from Ski Breck. And this will probably be for you, Jason. This is an interesting one. Buy or sell, Texas lands another top 3 football class in 2024.
Yeah, first off, Ski Breck, great name, dude. I love Breck. My wife grew up there, so we go there frequently. She used to ski or snowboard like 7 days a week, Breck. So you might have hit on my wife at some point. Who knows, dude? But to answer your question, Ski Breck, I don't think Texas is getting a top 3 football class in 2024. Anwar mentioned it. They got 3 commitments now, and I get it, man. Don't hit the panic button. And June official visits are coming up. That's all well and good, and they might make a surge in June and July, even August, but top 3 is going to be tough. You're likely not going to have an Arch Manning effect that Texas had last year. They get Arch, that kind of helps get things steamrolling and snowballing.
Not only that, Jason, how many times could you have a top 3 class without having that epic quarterback as part of it, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Texas last year, I don't remember. I think they were 3rd or 4th last year. The year before that, they were 5th. I just don't see it. I mean, they would have to get Colin Simmons. They'd have to get Micah Hudson. They'd have to almost clean sweep the top guys on their board, and I just don't see that happening right now. Now, listen, I'm not saying panic or go jump off a tall building. Texas is still going to have a good recruiting class, but I would think closer to 10 than to 3 would probably be my guess as it stands right now.
But let me ask you this: do you got any sense, Jason, why when we look at the rivals rankings and we see teams like a Michigan with so many commits, and you see the Georgia, I think is like somewhere around 12, but you see guys that are somewhere in the high teens as far as commits, and Texas is sitting at 3. I think even Texas Tech has 8 commits, at this moment. So we're just talking pure numbers. Any thought process into like why Texas is sitting at 3? Is that intentional on the staff, or or they missed out on guys? I haven't seen you report that they've missed out on guys either. So just give us an understanding of 3.
It's not intentional, but it's not unintentional either. I mean, and I say that I'm looking onward: Georgia 15, Michigan 17, Notre Dame 16, LSU 15, Ohio State 13. Those are your top 5. You mentioned Texas Tech. They do have 8, but that's kind of been Joey McGuire's MO, man. They'll take a lot of guys early and not necessarily the highest rated guys. In fact, of their 8, they got 1 4-star and all the rest are 3-star guys. So, Texas fans they just like to say, oh, don't panic. And, Texas had a big run in the summer last year. That's how things just work for this staff. There's some truth to that, but I promise you, the Texas staff would probably like to be higher than 3 commitments right now, one of which is a punter. Why is it? I don't know. A lot of guys are just waiting for whatever reason. They're going to have a lot of guys are going to commit later in the summer. Obviously, some will wait until the fall. I don't think the Texas coaches, and I know this, are actively pushing for commitments maybe the way, Michigan is, or Oregon, Penn State. That's not to say they wouldn't take a commitment from a lot of these guys if they wanted to come aboard, but these guys aren't ready to decide yet. And, I mentioned this, I wrote my Q&A, which I'll post on Orangebloods later today. In fact, I said in there, hey, man, I've had more recruits tell me, hey, the Texas coaches are saying, oh, go ahead and take your visits, man. It's cool. Like, we're confident. Go ahead and do all that stuff and you'll come back to us. More kids have told me that they've heard that from the Texas coaches than they've heard, hey, man, you need to hurry up and commit. Let's get this thing rolling. The staff is just not pushing for commitments super aggressively. I think the biggest part of that, Omar, is they're pretty confident that they're going to have a really good season in the fall. And they feel like, hey, if we can get that going in the fall, then recruits, even if they're committed elsewhere, they're still going to look at us. Maybe they decommit and come over to Texas. So, I think some of it is confidence in the type of season Texas is going to turn in. But, boy, you'd love to kind of, have that confidence in having a good season, but also be really hot in recruiting early on. And Texas is just not hot in recruiting early on. Right now, 57th in the team recruiting rankings, Texas is. And obviously that number is going to go up or go down, I guess, quite a bit. But, Texas has a lot of work to do. And I think June is when we'll start seeing some movement.
Just real quick, Alex, real quick, Jason, before I get to Alex for the Alfred Collins questions, that's going to be next. Do you still think they've finished top 10?
That's kind of my cutoff right now. If we're going, I know it's buy or sell. I'm going to say buy Onward. I think they will, but I think it's going to be pretty close. And that's still a really good class off the heels of 2 top 5 classes. Okay. Not everybody can be Georgia and Ohio State. I mean, Texas can be Georgia and Ohio State if they start playing well on the field. But buy or sell to that, I will go buy, but I'm not a super confident buy.
Okay. Michael Harges, my main man, Michael, how are you doing today? Happy Tuesday to you. Alex, this is going to be a good one for you. A buy or sell. Does Alfred Collins have an impactful year? Buy or sell, Alex?
Can we define impactful? I mean, just a guy that plays, a guy that plays more snaps than he did last year, or what is it? I mean, what do you think he means by impactful? Like, are we talking about a guy that
honorable mention all conference, maybe? I don't know.
Okay, that's a good cutoff.
I mean, he only played 25% of snaps last season, so I think that's gonna have to go up. I would lean sell, simply because it's like, just, after so long doing this, it usually you kind of, what does they say, man? If they're gonna bite his dogs, they bite his pups. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's probably the wrong way to say it. What's that saying? They bark
something
his dogs.
Like that. Daryl Rose said if they're gonna bite, they'll bite his pups or something.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Alfred Collins just hadn't really done that. You look at last season, and I'll just pull it up. I mean, his efficiency on defense was worse than all other interior players except for Aaron Bryant, who only played 17 snaps and didn't generate any production at all. But other than that, I mean, Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton were, they were getting production once every 11 to 12 snaps, where you look at guys like, Keandre Coburn was at production once every 7 or so snaps. Same with Byron Murphy. Tavondre Sweat was at every 8.37. So, he's going to need to improve. And he also, man, I don't know about you guys, it doesn't seem like Alfred Collins to me has a real set position right now. He's one of these guys like Vernon Broughton that they move to defensive end. They play sometimes even at nose in different packages, defensive tackle. So, we've talked about it. The fact that they brought in Trill Carter, you had to look at it as somewhat of an indictment on the way that they feel about Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins. So I feel like it's probably stacked against Alfred Collins at this point. With that said, we did see him in camp taking on more spring ball, taking on more of a kind of a vocal leadership role. One of these guys that would be out there trying to get the rest of the guys fired up. That's something that we'd never really seen out of him before. So maybe if he's got the he's got the juice coming into this year, and he can move forward with that. Maybe he could be a guy we consider impactful enough to make that all conference kind of list. I would say from what we've seen so far, though, based on what we've seen so far, that would be a sell from me.
Gotcha, Alex. There's one by D, if you noticed it, and this is going to be a recruiting question. If you about Oklahoma, and Jason, I don't know if this is a trolling kind of question or not. I'm not quite sure if it's serious or not, but we'll go ahead. We'll play ball with it. Oklahoma signs 2 5-star defensive linemen, while Texas signs none. Buy or sell on that one, Jason? Again, with the caveat, might be a troll. So I'm just going to put that out.
Yeah, I'm probably buying that Texas signs none. I'm looking at Oklahoma. I don't follow Oklahoma's recruiting that closely, but
does Colin Simmons count as a defensive lineman?
Yeah, I was counting him. Yeah,
he's 5-star, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you don't think Texas is going to get him?
Right now, no. I'm probably predicting LSU for Colin Simmons. I think Oklahoma, obviously with David Stone, is in great shape. He's from Oklahoma. He's at IMG. Honestly, I'm not really sure. I don't think they're going to get Kamarion Franklin. I'm looking at some of their other guys. I'd probably sell that, but I don't have a great handle on Oklahoma's recruiting and where they stand with all their offers. But yeah, I'm going to probably sell both of those.
All right. Well, appreciate that. There's some weird guy by the name of Blake Skaggs who we may or may not know. Buy or sell, Texas baseball host a regional. We'll all sit back, Aaron, and let you handle that. Buy or sell, Texas host a regional.
Yeah, so I think it's going to have to be a buy right now. The D1Baseball.com, they came out with their latest regional projections, and they had Texas as the final host, as the number 16 overall seed. So, of course, we've got the conference tournament this week. I was talking about it with Zach, our other baseball writer. It feels like 2 wins is probably going to be enough to get it done. And then when you look at how the bracket broke down in Arlington this weekend for the Big 12 tournament, Texas is in a little pod there with Kansas, TCU, Kansas State. So you think they could get 2 wins there because they won the series this year against TCU. They won the series against all those teams, TCU, Kansas State, Kansas. So when you consider that, I think it's reasonable for Texas to win 2 or 3 games in Arlington this week. And I think at that point, the RPI is going to be good enough. It'll probably be hovering around 20. We know, Dishwalk Field in Austin is a really good place to host a regional. So I think the NCAA might give them a little bit of an edge there. So I think that's going to have to be a buy right now, assuming they don't do a 2 and Q in Arlington. I'm pretty comfortable going buy with that one.
Aaron, too, while I've got you, obviously here, tell me what's been kind of the key, from your kind of point of view, as you've kind of watched this season. It feel like there was a little panic to start off the year, if I'm correct. The 3 straight losses, to start, and then there was a couple of little. There was losing. I feel like they were at a losing record at some point. Cal State Fullerton happens. What's kind of been the key for the turnaround in your perspective?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a real up and down season. I think when you look at the key, you could probably go to 2 things. One is the 2 aces at the top of the rotation, Lucas Gordon and LeBaron Johnson Jr. LeBaron Johnson Jr. especially, he's come on really strong. The past 2 months, and you mentioned the Cal State Fullerton when they were really struggling. Since then, LeBaron Johnson Jr., he's been really good. He's been solidified that number 2 starter role, and he's been borderline dominant. He's got the best conference ERA in all of the Big 12. So I would point to him. Lucas Gordon, the main Friday night ace. He's been very good all year. And then from there, I go to the lineup. The lineup has just been really deep. The freshman first baseman, Jared Thomas, he was in a slump to start the year. I mean, he was a true freshman starting every day at first base. So kind of reasonable to expect a slow start there, but he has come on in a huge way. He's hitting well over 300 in conference play. He's the leadoff guy now. He's impacting the game on the bases. He's hitting for average. He's hitting for power. He's drawing walks. So the lineup has lengthened out quite a bit with Thomas at the top of the lineup. And then you've got guys like Peyton Powell, Dylan Campbell. He's on a 33-game hitting streak. So that has obviously been a big part of the recent turnaround. So I would say LeBaron Johnson Jr. coming on at the top of that rotation with Lucas Gordon. And then Jared Thomas and some of the other guys adding depth to the lineup has just made the team a lot better overall, and it's kind of helped this recent turnaround.
Thanks so much, Aaron. Alex, this is a good one for you, man. This is one by Colby S. I'm fascinated to see what you're going to say because buy or sell, Alex, Texas has 3 first-round picks in the 2024 draft.
I'll sell that. I mean, I feel like that's the total bull case for Quinn Ewers, Jatavion Sanders, and Xavier Worthy. You know, it's like all 3 of those guys are going to have to go ham, and you know that does correlate, right? If Quinn has the big year, it's likely going to have to do with getting the football to those guys with greater volume. You know, with that being said, you know, it's I think Quinn's going to be a first-round draft pick, not because I'm totally convinced that Quinn is going to be light years better this year than he was last year. It's just like we talked about here on the show. It's just the kind of the Will Levis effect. I mean, he wasn't a first-round pick, but these NFL teams are taking risks on these guys, and they're taking risks on these guys high in the NFL draft. I've heard it from enough people now already that the narrative is taking shape that Quinn Ewers is going to be considered a first-round talent, and that in football circles, it's widely thought that he's going to be leaving after this year. So I would think I would pencil him in, you know, but the other guys that, you know, you see kind of talked about, it's basically JT Sanders and it's basically Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy's going to have a much, much better season than he did last year to go into that kind of consideration. People aren't going to, I mean, we learned from guys like, and I know with Kayshon Boutte, there was stuff off the field. The guy from LSU, there was also, he tested really bad. Xavier Worthy won't test as badly as Kayshon Boutte did. But we've just seen that we saw with Justin Ross, and he had an injury to the neck that caused it. But we've seen these guys that just had these dynamic freshman seasons. You know, NFL teams don't always look back to that freshman year and say, that's the guy that we know we can get. I think that they're a lot more open to maybe looking at a guy like Jordan Addison, who had a bit of a down year at USC, but they could look just 1 year before at Pitt, right? And you can go back to that tape. I don't think people will go back to freshman tape on these guys. So Xavier Worthy has that to overcome. JT Sanders has a volume issue to overcome. I mean, I saw a question in chat from our boy Nash asking if the Jonte Cook, where he's going to be in the target pecking order, and that very question just goes to show that there's a lot of these guys that are going to want the football a lot. And JT Sanders, for him to show that he's a first-round pick, he's going to have to put a lot of stuff on tape as far as him as a blocker, him without the ball in his hands, all the rest of it on top of, you know, probably getting some pretty good volume. So I think it's possible, but I don't think it's the most likely outcome. So I'd say so.
Okay, but let me ask you this kind of an add-on to that one, Alex. Any chance a guy like Tavondre could potentially slip in as far as first round? I saw one mock that had him as a first round draft pick. Just your thoughts on Tavondre as far as an NFL prospect as he stands today, and then even I don't think any of us are looking at Jalen Ford as a first round pick, but he's another high draft pick. So just give me those 2 guys.
Well, Jalen Ford he's not going to test very well. You know, as far as his explosive testing, it's not going to be as good. I think he'd probably be a little bit better than some of us think with his agility testing if he does go through those drills at the combine. But teams, unless they're cavemen that bite your ankle off, Dan Campbell type of coaches, they don't take inside linebackers and thumpers in the first round anymore. Teams don't do that. Their analytics departments they'll go jump off the side of the building if these guys do that stuff. I think that Tavondre Sweat, I think where did you see you saw a mock draft with him in the first round? You know where?
Don't laugh.
Was it PFF?
No, it was Walter Football.
Oh God, that guy.
Like 20-something years.
Charlie or whatever his name is.
30 years.
30 years of pretty bad content on War. 30 years of lots of misses. I just look, man. I think Tavondre Sweat. I think that whoever had that is probably look. I know that the Senior Bowl is very high on Tavondre Sweat. We can lock it in that he's going to be a Senior Bowler next year. They said he would have been. They said that if Keandre Coburn and Tavondre Sweat had kind of traded places, and it was Tavondre, like they wanted to Tavondre last year, whereas they passed on Keandre Coburn, of course, who ended up getting the Shrine Game invite, eventually drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs, I think in round 5. I haven't seen first round production out of Tavondre. I don't think anybody here has either. I mean, have you guys looked at him and said, oh, geez, that's a first round skill. I mean, I've seen more of that out of Byron Murphy in flashes. So I'd say no, I don't think he could be a first round draft pick, but I think he could certainly work his way up to day 2. When was Taquan Graham drafted? I mean, he's better than Taquan Graham. I forgot. Was he a 4th rounder?
5th round. I believe he was a 4th or 5th, if I'm correct.
He's a better prospect than that. I think he's probably a better prospect than Coburn. So I think day 2 is not unreasonable for him to set his sights on, but I don't think he'll be a first round pick.
That seems like you said, that's a very bullish if he gets to day 2. Like that question, Tavondre Sweat going in the first round, strikes me as like Texas players are always overvalued. Like a year before the draft, everybody says, "Oh, this guy's a lock to be a first round pick or a top 10 pick," and then we see these guys get drafted nowhere near that. Like, no offense to Tavondre Sweat, but I've seen nothing from him that makes me think he's a first round pick. 3 first round picks in the next year's draft, as Alex said, that'd have to be like a perfect scenario, man. I mean, Quinn's probably going to get there. I'm not fully convinced Xavier or Sanders or JT Sanders get there. So 3, I mean, that'd have to be the perfect storm. All 3 of those dudes are going to have to ball out this year. But
yeah,
that's pretty easy to sell for me.
I think if it were a sports book, you'd probably put Quinn in the first round at something like -200, right? It'd probably put JT at something like plus 500. Probably put Worthy at something like plus 500. So I mean, if you were going to parlay all those picks together, the sports book, you could put you could put down $5 and stand to win like probably $150, $175 on it. So obviously it's something that's a little bit of a long shot.
Mark with a buy or sell with this receiving core. Texas breaks their single season passing record this year. Jason, I'll start with you. I don't have the number in front of me.
Gotta be Colt, right? I'm assuming. I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm not. So I don't know. If Catch was here, he'd tell you, "Oh, that was 2008."
Yeah, he had the number right off the top of his head. I'm sure we could look that up pretty quickly, but man, you know what? That's a really good question, Mark. My first instinct was like, no way, not going to happen. But it is a deep receiving core. The running back room may take a step back, or probably is going to take a step back. So they're probably going to be throwing the ball more. Ewers is more experienced. They're going to have more confidence in him. I think he's going to have a big year. That's a good one. I'm going to go sell, but I certainly could see a scenario where Texas does set a lot of passing records, including the single season overall passing record. But I'm going to go with sell. But I'm curious what everybody else thinks.
I'm still looking it up. I'm looking up the number here.
I abstain because I don't even know what I'm pitting it against. Like I don't know what the best. I can find like the passing leaders by player, but I can't find passing by season.
Well, I'm assuming Colt had just about all of them. He had 3,859 yards. Sam was at 3663. I think I just saw. So,
Alex, I think you just wrote about this. I think something else to consider here is the new rules in college football. Right, there might be less plays overall. So when we think about breaking overall single season passing records, that could also be something that impacts this, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the new rules are going to eliminate between 8 and 12 plays per game. So, I mean, you think about 8, 12 plays per game, what is that? Probably 5 plays per game per team. But if you think about it on average, Texas plays 67 plays on offense during the time that Steve Sarkisian's been here. So you're talking about 113. You're talking about 1/13th. 1/13th of that's taken off there when you're really working on the margins like this, trying to beat these big time records.
And I got it right here, by the way. The single season record is by Colt, 3,859 in 2008. Sam Ellinger's at 3,663 in 2019 at number 2. So 3,859, Alex.
Ellinger was at what in 2019?
36.63. So
was that with Humphrey, Duvernay, and Colin Johnson?
Yeah, he's number 2 on the list in that 2019 season. 3,600.
I mean, you frame it like that, it doesn't seem that far out of the.
In this, and I mean, you get what, 12, possibly 13 games if they're in the championship, and then bowl game or maybe multiple games after that. Man, it's a good question. I'm not putting that much faith in Quinn, but I'm still selling. But it's certainly possible.
It's not as far out of reach as I would have thought, but I'll still say so.
Hey, by the way, Alex, on this list, Sam is also listed at number 6 for having 3,292 yards in 2018.
Texas threw for third as a team. Hudson, Xavier, where they had 33 yards, but Hudson Card 3,138 yards. So they need about 700 yards on top of that. Man, that's a really good one that I'm going back and forth on. So I'm still saying sell, but it's certainly doable.
They got better receivers because they're saying in the chat 2019 was only Duvernay. Chad Gibson is saying that was only Duvernay. So that was the year after the Jordan Humphrey left early. So, I mean, if that was just Duvernay and stuff, like, let me look.
But you still would have had Colin Johnson there because they both came out the same year, correct?
Let me just look back at the deep dig for that year. I'll tell you what this was for. So, like,
because they would have had. I thought they both came out at the same year, if my memory serves correct. So Colin,
give me a second to pull it up. Like
Duvernay being like a 3rd round pick, and Colin was somewhere around 5th or 6th, somewhere in that range. So you would have had at least those two. Plus running. By the way, just props to Sam. For all the crap that he's getting, he's listed twice in the top 10. So, and Colt, of course, Colt was number 3, by the way, at 3,521. It's Colt, Sam, Colt, Major, Colt 3 times. Chris Sims at 3,200, VY at 3,000, Bouchel at 2,958, and Garrett Gilbert. Jason, 2,740.
So that we're looking at the same Wikipedia page, Omar.
No, I'm looking at UT. I'm looking at UT.
Okay,
I'm on UT's website.
Okay, I'm looking at.
So that year, the receivers were other guys catching. You forget. God, I mean, it's hard to forget that Keontae Ingram. That was, I guess, Keontae Ingram 49% of snaps that year. He led the team in snaps. But anyway, Devin Duvernay had 75% of snaps. Brennan Eagles had 64% of snaps. Malcolm Epps, remember, had 45% of snaps. Colin Johnson, 41% of snaps. And then the only 2 others to play really any snaps were John Burt, who played 34%, and then Jake Smith. Jake Smooth, my guy, 26% of snaps. So that wasn't with great wide. I mean, golly, you think about the guys that, if Quinn Ewers is a 1st-round draft pick, he has all this arm talent. The receivers, if we list off A.D. Mitchell, if we list off Xavier Worthy, if we list off Jordan Whittington, if we list off Isaiah Nair whenever he comes back, DeAndre Moore's a baller, Jonte Cook, good tight ends. I mean, the tight ends we're talking about back then was Cade Brewer and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, I don't think that it's, I'm almost thinking that maybe, like, I don't want to get in the business of, just predicting all-time records. Like, I feel like I'm already giving this team too much credit, but it's really not that hard to imagine. It should truly isn't, given the level of talent that Quinn, is purported to have, and also just the talent that he's surrounded by, and the fact that he's got a much better offense. Like, the offensive line is in a completely different state than it was then. So.
I feel you. Good stuff, Al. And ended up being a better question. It was tough at first, and we're like, I don't know about this question. And then as we talk it out, it ended up being a really good one. I guess staying in that vein, Aaron, let's throw this one to you. I don't want you sitting there too quiet for a little long. Buy or sell, Texas will have 2 1,000-yard wide receivers this season.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a tough one. I think when you're talking about the all-time record stuff too, I was thinking about it's so much of that comes down to game environment, right? When you're thinking about, is Texas going to be in a bunch of shootouts? How's the defense going to be this year? You think about the schedule this year. I'm a little bit up and down. So, you would think Worthy would get there, obviously. So then from that other slot, A.D. Mitchell, is he going to be a guy that's able to rack up a bunch of yards, or, is he going to predominantly be someone that has a big impact in the red zone? I mean, they're going to air it out. I like Jason's point earlier about you don't have Bijan anymore. You don't have Roshan. So obviously you're not going to be able to pound the rock as much as you would normally like. So if they get into these environments, I think you could see a guy like Whittington out of the slot, possibly getting to 1,000. So, I mean, I would lean on you guys to tell me how often this actually happens, but I would think, the talent is going to be there. And then Quinn, his second year in the system, he's been on campus for a long time now. Sark, he's the passing game guy. So, I mean, if it's going to happen, with this passing game, you would think this would be a good year for it to happen. So I think Bai would definitely be in play for 1,000. I need you guys to back me up on how realistic that is and how often, we actually see that happen.
Jason, I mean, aren't we at the point, though, where there's a lot of mouths to feed on that offense? I mean, when we start talking about Quinn, Xavier, we talk about A.D. Mitchell. We hadn't talked about any of the running backs, but there's like 5, that, you still got Brooks, Jaden Blue, and then you still got Savion Red, Keelan Robinson that, what they like. You still got the freshman running back as well with C.J. Baxter. Like, aren't we getting to the point where you're like, 1,000 yards sounds great, but it's just how many opportunities is everyone going to get?
Yeah, I'm looking. I have the top 10 pulled up. Jordan Shipley, 1485 is the record. Duvernay, Kwame Cavill, L.J. Humphrey, Roy Williams back in 2002 with 1,100. I don't know, man. 2,000-yard receivers. I'm with you, Almar. There's too many mouths to feed. They're going to have to spread the ball around. You're assuming. Then if it's Xavier Worthy and let's just say A.D. Mitchell's the second most likely, you're assuming both those guys are going to be healthy for the entirety of the season. So I would sell that. I think it's possible, but I don't think it's likely that they're going to have 2 1,000-yard receivers.
What about you, Alex, real quick before we move on to the next one?
Well, I'm just trying to look back here. I've gotten all the way to 2008, and there hasn't been. Oh, here we go, 2008. So that's when it was. Jordan Shipley and Quan Cosby. They came close in, I think 2019 or something, like whatever. It was Lil Jordan Humphrey and Colin Johnson. One of them got real close, but it was yeah. That's what it is right there. That's what it was. It was so Colin Johnson was 15 short in 2018. But other than that, you got to go back to 2008. So we're looking at a once every 10-year kind of phenomenon recently. I know it's different from year to year, but I'd say sell, man. And that's not saying that I don't really love these wide receivers and think they're all really good. And I'm with Jason. If it's going to be 2, it's going to be A.D. Mitchell and it's going to be Xavier Worthy.
All right, let's go ahead and do another buy or sell. You're taking Texas with the points against Alabama this season, Alex. Texas with the points, and the last time I saw it was 7. I don't know where the line is at now. You going to take the Texas with a +7 versus Bama?
Yeah, man, I buy that. I buy that thing. I think it'll be close. I'm not sure Texas wins, but they don't know what they're doing at quarterback. They've lost a bunch of really good players. They have good players coming back, right? I mean, we've been over this. We've looked at the roster. We've talked about it, but I mean, you lose Bryce Young and you're just replacing him with just a guy. I mean, that's going to be costly. Losing Jahmyr Gibbs, who's the 12th overall pick in the draft. I mean, that's costly. Losing Will Anderson, 2nd overall pick in the draft. That's costly. I mean, there are a lot of these, did Brian Branch go first round? I forget if he went first round. Maybe early second. I forgot if he went first or early second. Certainly one of the premier players on the defense. I mean, there's a lot of these dudes who they're going to need to replace. And I know at Alabama, they reload, right? They don't rebuild. But I mean, look at the Texas roster right now, man. It's pretty good. Texas is one that's like Texas is in the part of the cycle right now where they're at the top of, the guys on the top of their roster right now are at the peak of their powers. And I think that's going to mean a lot, as far as this matchup.
What do you think, Jason? You take the points?
Absolutely. I'm buying that 100%. Someone said it's 7.5. If I get that extra half point, you're damn right I am. I don't know if we'll put this one up. I'm just reading from the chat. Buy or sell. Sorrell will have 10-sack season, Barry said, buying and betting my 401k.
No pressure, Barry.
Yeah, Barry, you better come through for your dad, dude.
No pressure. No
Yeah,
pressure.
you might want to hedge that, man. If he gets 10 sacks, you're not going to need that.
That's true.
You're not going to need to double up that 401k, man. You can just have old Barron send you a big cut of that check he's going to get from his NFL draft, right?
Correct. So, Jason, you're buying is that?
I'm buying the
right,
taking the points.
Back on topic, and then Aaron, what about you?
Yeah, 7.5. I mean, I think the half point there is pretty key. That feels like a buy. I mean, we know this is going to be a big test for Texas on the road, but like Alex was talking about, I mean, Bama's got a lot of new players. They've got to replace Bryce Young. It's going to be a test early for them too. And then obviously, you know, that's only the second game of the year. You know, week 1 for Texas. You know, you'd like to think that's not going to be too much of an issue. So you think Sarkisian is going to be able to, you know, he's going to have a lot of time to prep that game plan to, you know, break down some stuff. So even if you get to a point where Texas is down 14, you know, with that 7.5, you've got the backdoor cover opportunity there to potentially score late. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're getting a full 7.5, yeah, I think that makes sense in a game where you would think Texas would be able to move the ball. You know, they were able to move the ball last year. So you think the Texas offense will be better. So yeah, I would feel comfortable taking 7.5.
Yeah, I'd be, you know, I think for me, you know, for Bama and the things, the changes that they're going through, they have to face Texas in week 2. You know, if there's a team that probably doesn't have as many question marks going into the season, it's Texas. I know it's going to be at home. That gives them obviously, you know, a little bit of an advantage there. But 7 or 7.5, winning by, you know, 10 points or something like that at home. For a team that could barely do that on the road here, I'm just not quite sure I'm ready to sell that. I would definitely take 10. Now I won't go anything far like Barry. I don't know. I'm not into betting my retirement or anything to that effect, but I do like Barry's being bullish on his son. So Blake, throw another one on the screen. What do we got? DJ.
So if healthy, Banks is the first offensive line drafted when he comes out.
I see it now.
So 2025 NFL draft. I'll buy that. I haven't watched, the other guys in that class, but I do know that LSU had Jason. Do you remember the LSU guys that they got last year?
You know
what was one? Will Campbell or something?
I think it was Will Campbell. Yeah, that was the kid. Yeah.
And then let me see if I can find the other one. They have 2 tackles from last year that people were like. I haven't watched them very much yet. Alabama's always going to have somebody. Looks like Alabama got like a guard last year that people like, Tyler Booker. Yeah, I mean, I think that Kelvin Banks is the one. He's your premier. He's gonna. I mean, I've said, he looks to me like a top 10 pick. So, and that's based on the work that I've done and the systems that I've created that I used to write the deep dig and grade that stuff. But I invented that, or I didn't invent it, but that system I not perfected. I took that system and I kind of catered it my own way, just from some stuff that I learned from an NFL scout, from how he charted offensive linemen, how he stacked them up on his board. And so for the 2020, 2012, and 2013 classes, when I was working for another national website and I was having to give, projections on where these players went just based on the charting, like Kelvin Banks as a freshman would have shown up as a guy that was probably charting like a first round kind of pick. So I would think that after 3 years, you'd certainly be talking about him as like a top 10 pick.
What about you, Jason? What do you think?
Yeah, I know Will Campbell because I remember seeing him at the Rivals camps, and that dude's really, really good. I don't know what other freshmen were big time contributors last year.
What about Emory Jones? Do you remember him at all?
Not really, and I don't know what he did.
Because they talk about 2 LSU guys, and the other one I see is Emory Jones. It was a freshman.
No, but again, I'm not following LSU's offensive line play that closely either. But but I would buy it, just the fact that, I mean, he's a pure left tackle. I mean, assuming he doesn't have a sophomore slump or, Kelvin Banks, he certainly feels like he's going to, like Alex said, a top 10 draft pick seems like a pretty safe bet if he continues to progress and play well. So I would buy that with the caveat. I don't know who all is going to be available in the 2025 draft, though.
Kelvin Banks is really, really good. You know, it's like you can kind of say a guy's big and he's moves well and stuff, but man, he's a really good player. If he continues looking like this, I don't see it's going to be hard for a guy to look better than him.
Rodolfo is back with a buy or sell. Texas will have a DB, Alex, with 3 interceptions this season. You going to buy or sell on that, Alex?
You know, they don't throw. It'll be interesting to see how often teams are going to throw it at Ryan Watts. You know, I think if there's going to be somebody who has 3 picks, it'll probably be Jahdae Barron playing in the nickel, right? I think that's probably the most likely guy. I'd like to know when the last time, you know.
So just so you know, Jahdae had 2 last year.
Yeah. So they'll have one of these guys with 3 picks, and you know, it's these safeties too, who are these kind of right place, right time safeties who can sometimes have those kinds of seasons where they get multiple 3-4 picks. So yeah, I think I'll buy somebody doing it. I'm not sure it's gonna be one of the outside corners though.
What about you, Jason? Just so you know, Jahdae had 2 last year. Deshaun Jameson had 2. Then Jaron Thompson had 1.
Alex, I echo exactly what he said. I think they'll get 3. Somebody, I mean, that's so finicky though. It can be a batted ball that just falls into somebody's hands. I think if it happens though, it's probably going to come from the safety spot. Man, I'm looking like Earl Thomas had 8 in 2009.
That's crazy. That's wild.
Dude, so, and then they had a bunch with 7. I mean, tons of guys with 6, including Deshaun Elliott, Blake Gideon. 3 though, that seems a very reasonable number. You're going to get a couple lucky bounces that are going to, come your way. So I think Texas gets somebody with at least 3, and I think it probably comes from Jahdae or one of the safeties.
Yeah, it's gonna get because they're gonna let Jahdae rob, like they're gonna let him play robber all the time, and still like he's gonna have his opportunities. And I think, like somebody said in chat, there were a few that he dropped this last year. He could have had more than just 2.
Alex, I'm gonna start with you on this one, and we'll work our way around. And this is a fascinating one. Alex, is Jonathan Brooks the starting running back for the entire 2024 season? And I'm gonna assume the caveat is when healthy, right? I'll add that in for Nash Talks Texas.
You're gonna add that.
I think I'm gonna add that in. So when healthy, he's the guy.
No, I sell it because he'll probably get hurt, and when he does, he's not gonna come back and he's not gonna have the role just bequeathed right back to him. You know what I mean? Like
if you hypothetically, if he stayed healthy, I guess I'd be. Do you think he's the starting running back if he stays healthy all year?
Yeah, it's going to be a committee regardless. I mean, if he stays healthy the whole season, so he could be the first running back out there, number 24 with the first group every time they run out there. I mean, I could certainly see that. That's something I could maybe even buy. I'm not sure it's going to mean that much, man. You're going to have to get CJ Baxter out there. I think to a certain degree, you're going to have to get Jaden Blue out there. You're going to have to get a bunch of we have to get Keelan Robinson and Savion Red. We've talked about how these guys are pretty redundant, but they're going to get them both their snaps. So, maybe if he stays healthy, he technically stays the starter, right? But I think I might still say sell. There's going to be at some point during there's going to be jockeying here in this. There's not enough separating him from these other guys. There's going to be at least some jockeying this year where it's just hard to really see a front-running Jonathan Brooks through the whole entire season.
What about you, Jason? Were you co-signing on that?
If obviously, assuming he stays healthy, it's a tricky one to predict, but I'm going to buy it, man. He is the most experienced back. He's a good leader. He's been ultra productive. He's a guy I think the coaches really respect. Just the way he carries himself in the locker room, again, the experience factor. If he stays healthy, I'm going to go with buy. And also, none of the guys, I know it was only one practice, but the spring game, none of those guys really just took the bull by the horns while while he was out. So I'm going to buy that Brooks is a starting running back all year if he stays healthy.
What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like if anyone is gonna, run away, like I don't think anyone's gonna run away with the job. If someone has the potential to do that, it feels like it would be Brooks. But if you're thinking about starting all year, I kind of probably lean more towards Alex, where there's kind of no reason not to go with a committee at the beginning of the year. You've got a bunch of guys that don't have too much experience, so I think they come out with a committee. So I don't know if that counts as first 2-3 games of the year, if that counts as a start. But I would say they're going to lean committee, and then maybe Brooks or one of the other guys will establish himself as a hot hand, and then maybe take it from there. But I would probably lean more with Alex and say sell-ish, I guess. Just expect more of a committee earlier in the year is kind of where my head's been at.
The other thing too is, I mean, with injuries, guys, I mean, you know how these coaching staffs are. It could be something where it's like, well, technically I was wrong on this because the week CJ Baxter gets a start, Jonathan Brooks dressed, but he's still a little bit banged up from last week, so we're taking it easy on him. You know what I mean? He's out there as an emergency. Do you know what that means? It means they're using that injury as a little bit of an excuse to promote somebody else. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's like chicken or egg. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I mean, it's just sixes, right? Like so. I mean, that's why I say sell, because I feel like even in that situation, it's going to be, even in the situation where it could be something where he gets hurt. Maybe it's not where he's totally hurt.
But let me ask you this, Alex, just kind of real quick. When you talk about like committee, do you do a committee on the road versus Bama in week 2, or do you try to find and establish who your guy is?
What do I do?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you try and establish a guy, but you give him a pretty damn short leash. I think they'll be able to tell pretty early on whether he's getting going with the flow of the game, whether he's running well, whether he's seeing the holes, whether he's finding the creases in the zone lanes. And if he is, I'd say ride the hot hand. Otherwise, man, you can't just keep on. If you keep doing that stuff, you're going to get Washington Alamo Bowl 2022. That's what you're going to get again.
They're not throwing out CJ Baxter, Jaden Blue, week 2 at Alabama. It's going to be if he's healthy, it's going to be Jonathan Brooks and Keelan Robinson. They're going to go on with the experienced guys.
Well, that's idiotic.
Why do you say that, Alex? Why do you say that?
I'm saying they won't play, Alex. I'm just saying that they're not going to be the guys that they trot out there as a starting back. I don't know.
If you're going to, I mean, if Jonathan Brooks, I mean, look, he was a great high school player. He's shown flashes. What has Jonathan Brooks showed us to say? I mean, Jonathan Brooks has played like 35 snaps at Texas. It's not like these other, it's not like you're just
his production.
None of these guys have played. Jonathan Brooks hadn't played.
He's played more than the other guys, and his production's been pretty remarkable when he's played.
What did Jonathan Brooks play last year? He played 35 snaps? I mean, it's like, come on, we're talking about some kind of grizzled vet here. I mean,
that's like 300%, 3,000%, whatever more snaps than the other guys combined. So,
well, it can't be higher than the other guys have played 0.
Exactly. It's exactly right.
You can't even do the math. All
right. Let's do. I
randomly threw out a number, hoping nobody would correct me, man.
I'm more of this. I was going to go down a rabbit hole with the conversation because you still got 5 running backs with Brooks, Blue, Baxter, and of course Keelan Robinson and Savion Red. We were talking about mouths to feed. I really wanted to ask Alex about this, but I know we got some base. Actually, I'm going to still ask you about it, Alex, real quick. With that many mouths to feed, Alex, I mean, I'm not asking you to do math, but who gets the bulk of the carries for you in there? Like, if you just had to hierarchy it, the number 1, this is my guy. Number 2, this is my guy. 3, 4, and 5. I'm just kind of curious where you'd rank them as far as not percentages, but who's going to get the bulk of the carries at the end of the year.
Well, I mean, if you just look, under Sark, it's been weird because all we can really look at is teams that feature Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson, right? Mm-hmm. And those guys between the two of them represent basically what, 808 vacated snaps, But so if we look at the other guys that played last year, Keelan Robinson played 12% of snaps. Jonathan Brooks, with all that experience that he brings coming into this next season with 31 snaps, a grand total of 3.95% of total snaps.
Wait, hold on. Jonathan Brooks had 30 carries. You're telling me he had 30 carries on 31 snaps?
Regular season. So regular season.
Wow.
So regular season. He did have more. He didn't have that many snaps in the bowl game, though.
Yeah.
31 total regular season snaps. Jaden Blue had 16 total regular season snaps. So we're talking a 2% snap guy in Jaden Blue versus a 4% snap guy in Jonathan Brooks.
Blue didn't play in the bowl game at all. He had 15 carries. So he got 15 carries on 16 snaps.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess when he's in the game, they're just probably killing clock. They're just handing the ball off.
They're just handing him the football probably at the end of in garbage time. But I mean, I think Keelan Robinson probably stays at this kind of 10 to 15% snap range. Maybe that goes up, 17 or something percent. But I think I don't think we're going to see a 65 or a 65% kind of Bijan leader with the second guy coming in at just 40%, right? And the reason why the reason why those numbers add up to over 100 is because those guys basically played all the snaps, but also because Texas played so many two-back sets last year, right? So we have to take that into consideration too. How often are they going to run two-back sets? How do they like those guys in two-back sets? Maybe Jonathan Brooks is the kind of traditional runner in those kinds of things where you have like a deal with the Savion Red, or maybe a CJ Baxter. If you don't want to roll him out there, it's just the lone setback versus Alabama. You get a two-back set going. See if you can carve something out for him on a Texas route or a wheel route or something like that. He's got really good hands. So if we're stacking him up though, Anwar, back to your question, I think I goes probably Jonathan Brooks probably is going to be the leader. I bet he's like a 50% snap guy. Then I would think that CJ Baxter and Jaden Blue are going to be hovering between 20 to 30% snaps each. And then considering those sort of two-back sets, and then probably I think Savion Red, it feels like they want to play Savion Red.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like they're going to want to play Keelan Robinson too. So I don't know, man. I would say 10 to 15% snaps for those guys as well. And they're going to have more two-back sets to accomplish that, clearly, because all those numbers that I put together just now add up to more than 100% of snaps.
All right, let's do a couple of more before we start getting into some parting shots. Aaron, back to you. We got a baseball question. Texas wins the SEC in baseball within 3 years of joining that new conference starting in 2024. What are you thinking? Buy or sell?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm going to have to lean sell there. So next year, in 2024, Texas that'll be the last year in the Big 12, just the way the athletic calendar works out. So then we're talking 2025, 2026, 2027. I mean, we know the SEC is a gauntlet in football, but I'm here to tell everyone baseball, it's the same way, if not even more. They're absolute powerhouse programs. I mean, you've got Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Florida, LSU. I mean, the list goes on and on, South Carolina. So if you just, in each individual year, if you give me Texas versus the field, you're just going to have to go with the field, because, I mean, you just look this year, Ole Miss won the national title last year, and they did not qualify for the conference tournament, which I believe, 12 or 14 teams qualify. Year before that, Mississippi State won the national title. They're not in the conference tournament either this year. So the past two national champions didn't even qualify for the conference tournament. That's how hard it is to actually win the SEC. So if you're talking about an outright, I just think there's too many teams to go against, and you don't know exactly what the roster is going to look like in a couple of years, just with the, the recruiting class. It's hard to predict because you can get guys that, are signed, but then they can go to the draft out of high school. You obviously have the portal, so it's hard to predict the exact roster. So without knowing the exact roster and then just knowing how good the SEC is in baseball, you're just going to have to lean towards the field. So have to be sell. I'm not saying I think Texas baseball is going to go in the tank when it goes to the SEC or anything like that. They're still going to be very solid. They're going to have really good players. It'll help with recruiting a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you just have to lean sell, just given how good the conference is and how deep it is, year in and year out.
But how many, well, you said, yeah, you're right. Cause it's 2024 next season. I see what you're saying, but how many key players are they going to have back, though? I mean, coming back for your knowledge, or there's guys that are going to be entering the draft like this. How many will they? Do you think you can probably lean on for next year?
Yeah, so for next year, when they're still in the Big 12, the first couple guys that come out is Jared Thomas. I was talking about him earlier. He's the stud freshman first baseman. He'll be back. He'll be really good because he's been pretty much dominant now for 2 straight months. So you expect a big year from him. Jalen Flores, they finally inserted him to kind of the starting shortstop role. He's had a pretty rough freshman year, but he's starting to swing the bat better. But after that, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's tough. It's gonna have to be a lot of portal. It's gonna have to be freshmen that come in and make an impact right away, because Peyton Powell, you should go around the diamond. You go Peyton Powell at third base. You don't know if he's going to come back. He could be a guy that leaves for the draft. You're going to lose the 2 aces that I talked about, Lucas Gordon, LeBaron Johnson Jr., their top 2 starting pitchers. Those guys are probably leaving for the draft. Dylan Campbell, stud outfielder. You got to think he's going to the draft. Eric Kennedy, Porter Brown, he's an older guy. Garrett Gilmette, his stock is probably never going to be better, so hard to see him coming back for another year. So they're going to lose a ton of guys. So it's going to be portal. It's going to, they're going to have to hit on a lot of freshmen. So, which is hard to project a couple of years out here. So yeah, there was a lot of turnover after last season, and, they were able to win the Big 12 regular season title, but they're going to have to do it again because they're going to lose quite a few key pieces from this year's team.
All right. I think we got a super chat question that's coming in from our Trey Brown. What up, Trey? Buy or sell? This Texas has a better class than last year's class. Then buy or sell. Onward finally finds true love. All right, Jason, I'll let you ask a recruiting question.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit about that, Onward. You answer your part. Tell on the first part. Onward, you go to the second part.
Oh no. I'm good at the acquisition department. I'm bad at the retention. If you want acquisitions, come to me, man. I'm your acquisition guy. The retention guy, these are the retention guys. These are the experts in retention. But I'm getting older. I do want to have somebody push me in the wheelchair at some point. So I'm going to buy that. I think the next time if I decide to do it, I think I'm just going to I think I'm just going to just shut up and just let that person do what they do and live happily ever after. Or I'm just going to can you do mail order, or is that considered like sex trafficking nowadays?
I'm not sure. I'm not. This is definitely an interesting talking point. I guess I'm not going to comment on it. There's good ways to get cancer.
I don't think you can do mail order nowadays. I think that's going into the dark zone. So
yeah, I'm not sure how that works.
I don't even want to joke about that right now. I'm afraid I'll say the wrong thing. But
yeah, so let's just I'll swipe and find someone or meet someone at HEB or something like that. So I'll be all right. So I'll buy on that at some point. What about the first part of it? What about the recruiting portion?
I'm selling that they're going to have a better class than last year. And there's one more super chat. All right, last one, then we'll wind it down. But buy or sell, Texas is a better class. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
That is the super chat.
Yeah. Okay. Buy or sell, Texas gets Jarrett Gibson, Micah Hudson, and Colin Simmons in next year's class. Unfortunately, JM, I'm going to sell that unless you're JM Jones, who's on the Texas recruiting staff. You know something I don't, but I'm going to sell that. I think they're going to get Gibson for sure. I know I don't think they lead for Micah Hudson right now, but I still think that one's going to turn back. I am predicting Texas to get Micah Hudson. Colin Simmons is one I think is going to break that one up, though. I think Texas can get him, but I don't think they're going to. So I'm going to sell that one, JM.
All right, well, let's get some barter shots. And I guess, you know what? I was thinking of some fun buy or sell questions I'm going to ask you guys and as we lead into your parting shot. So you can either have my buy or sell question be your parting shot, or you can answer my question and then have your own parting shot. It's going to be either or. So Alex, I'm going to start with you. Buy or sell, and this is our part of my parting shots. You have given up on the water levels in Lake Travis rising to the numbers of old?
No, that's a sell. I'll never give up on that. Not as long as I'm paying for my spot out at Siesta Shores, man. Like I gotta get that. I gotta get back in the boat, man. Like no way. I'm not selling the dream. I've heard that this is gonna be we got El Nino coming back. They're saying a hurricane season's coming early. It's been kind of wet. The water out just northwest, or the ground up here just northwest of here, they've gotten a lot of rain. So once more rain comes, it's just going to run right off. You can tell, man, I'm thinking about all the different scenarios here just for that water to come over Max Strack Dam right into Lake Travis. So yeah, sell, man. That you got to picture it, man. You got to be optimistic to get that. I don't need 681. I need 650. 650. I can get my pontoon back in.
Where are we at now, though, Alex?
630. Was 638.3 or something last time I checked. Yeah, and for my parting shot, I'll just say this. So heading out this weekend for Memorial Day with my sister and her family and our family to our usual trip down to at the end of school down in Port Aransas. And can I just take a minute real quick to just bitch about how expensive Port Aransas has gotten? It's like fucking, I mean, it's like going down to, it's like you can have a cheaper trip by going all the way to like Gulf Shores, Fort Morgan. It's a better, I hate to say it, it's a nicer beach.
Alex, we've gone to Destin and it's way cheaper than Port Aransas, and it's 100 times nicer.
And I hate to say it, man, but it's those guys that did those two big developments, Cinnamon Shore and the other one, and they bought up all that land. It's like, it isn't, Mustang Island just isn't like it was when I was growing up. It used to be that you could go down there, a family could afford to go down there and pay just regular hotel room prices for their, suites or condos inside those big high rises. Now you can't even get into one of those things for less than like $700 a night. You know what I'm saying? Like all the Lord forbid you want to get a house that's big enough for two families to bring a grandma and stuff too. You're talking like, you're talking a lot of money. Like like the families that can afford to go down there these days are like totally in different financial situations than my family was whenever we were growing up. So, I mean, that's how things go.
Your way of angling for a free condo.
Yeah. So if any of you guys have condos, no, I'm just saying, I can't believe how expensive it's gotten, especially for the fact that we've always kind of like, as Texas people, we've always kind of known it's like, the beach down there's not even it's pretty good. Like it's better than Galveston or all the rest of it. It's pretty good, but you look at the beaches in Florida, you look at certainly South Padre Island, you look at some of these other places, and you're like, man, Port A is not as good as that. It shouldn't be this expensive a beach. We've always kind of known that. It's always been a place where you go fish in the bay, you can take your kayak out. The beach is fine, but it's got a lot of people that drive on it, and it's just like, but all of a sudden you're paying for it like it's paradise. It's simply it doesn't add up to me. So, but that's where I'll be going for the weekend.
But all that being said,
dropping a bunch of coin to go there. Yeah.
Why not a Destin or something like that, Alex? Like, why not?
Because
11-hour drive. Yeah.
Because my sister and my brother-in-law are basically paying for the whole house, and all I got to pay for is food and
what are you bitching about then, dude?
It's good because it's too expensive. It's too expensive.
All right, Jason, it's you. Okay. Buy or sell, Jason? I think I know the answer to this one. Your son is itching to get the hell out the house and back to China because that's where his heart is at. Buy or sell?
Japan. But yeah. You know what? I think I'm going to surprise you on where I'm going to sell that. I mean, he loved his time over there. Yeah. And like he said, he was there for 3 months. He goes, man, I wish I had like another couple months. But he actually, he technically graduated in December, but he is going to walk at his high school's graduation on Friday. So we're going to do that and have all the graduation festivities or whatever. Now he's kind of settled back in, dude. Like even when he came home, he's like, I miss it, but it's good to see his boys and hang out. And he's back at work and just, I don't know. I think there's a part of him that kind of is glad to be home. So loved his experience in Japan. I fully expect him to go back at some point, but I don't think he's itching. itching to get back there necessarily. And actually, that probably was going to be my good question, because that was going to be my parting shot. Just that he actually is graduating on Friday formally and going to walk with his classmates, which was a little surprising. I thought we'd have to like force him to do that, but he's going to wear the whole cap and gown thing and give mom and the experience of watching her son walk across the stage. So proud of him for doing that. And then he's off to college.
Hey, Jason, I got a question for you. Okay. Mm-hmm. I've got a friend who's a close friend. Their daughter's graduating on Saturday. I asked somebody what the going rate was as far as a graduation gift was concerned. Now, here's what I was told.
Okay,
I was told as a friend, if it's $100 just for someone that you may or may not know, one of your friends. I was told it was $250 for just kind of a good friend and $500 for someone who's like, like a BFF, extremely close.
Those are Port Aransas prices. What the hell are we talking about?
That's absurd. First off, we didn't even send out graduation announcements for our son because it's such a weird deal. He's already been in Japan for 3 months, and but I'm getting them for some of my friends' kids, and I'm a cheap ass, because hey, I got 5 of them sitting on my table downstairs. I'm not giving each of those kids a couple $100. Yeah, like I'm talking like my nephew, I'll give in that range, but the other ones are getting 100 or less probably, man. So
a $50 graduation gift?
Yeah, for a kid that I haven't seen in 4 or 5 years. Yeah, man.
We ain't going to be able to see him at $50. Like he's going to look at that. He's going to look at that and say, screw my uncle, man. I ain't $50. What the hell am I supposed to do with this?
No, these are kids that I knew when they were like kindergarten through 4th grade, and now I see them maybe once a year for 10 minutes. I'm like, it's just a cash grab at this point, man. So.
Well, that's graduation, isn't it? Isn't that the point? It's supposed to be a crash grab.
Chili's on Jason, Blake said. Yeah, well, I guess it is, but like, I'm just the total opposite of that. Like, we didn't send a night into my aunts and uncles. I don't know, man. I almost feel guilty. Like, yeah, grandma and grandpa want to donate. My brother, of course, is going to give our son a graduation gift, but I'm not sending it to a bunch of people who don't really know him. I'm just he can work and make his own money.
All right, fair enough.
Alex got screwed on Halloween candy. Hey, I'm the same guy who grounded his daughter on vacation. Remember? So we're a sassy attitude. So no, I'm going to make him earn his money, and yeah, those are high numbers you're throwing around.
That's what I was told. Now, my friend didn't tell me this. I asked someone who has another person whose daughter who graduated last.
What if it's a child you've never even met? But it's like your friend, but it's like your friend, or say your coworker.
Yeah.
What if Jason's kid sent you a graduation card? What would you send him back?
That's a good question. First off, I would never do that.
That's a great question. I mean, it's got to be somewhere between 50 and 100, right?
No.
Yes, right?
I'll send him a $25 Conoco card
for a graduation gift.
You don't know him.
Get half a tank of gas with this. I don't know why the hell you're hitting me up for that, but just because I think it's a strong move to ask me for the money. I'll give you a little bit. I
don't even know if I'd give anything, Alex. You're more 25. You're probably being more generous than I would.
Alex, have you ever just turned down a wedding invitation because you felt like it was a cash grab?
I don't know. It's been so long since I've been invited to a wedding. It feels like as you get into your late 30s, early 40s, those invites start to really fall off.
If Almar finds love like that by herself,
you guys gonna send me damn thing. By the way, as many times I've been married, I don't think I can send out an invitation. Like I think at this point I'm on my own, so don't worry about that. I probably still have a George Foreman grill from one of my previous marriages somewhere in the garage. So, Aaron, you're the last guy on the buy or sell, all right? Buy or sell. You've been fairly new here. There's at least one poster on the board who you just cannot stand. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I mean, you got to buy it, right? I mean, everyone would know I'd be lying if I sold. So, I mean, there's the people that will, just repeat the same stuff over and over, just always want to argue. But yeah, I mean, you get, it's all fun and games normally. But I mean, yeah, I mean, everyone, you guys would know I'm lying if I said sell. So I'm not going to pretend.
Ketchum had to tell me one time, man. He said, like, dude, you work here. You can't have people on mute. You're supposed to be moderating these things. I go through and look at everybody I've muted over the years on Orangebloods. I got like hundreds of them, dude. Yeah.
I don't have anybody on mute. I do have people that I don't like, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like the baseball fans overall.
Hey,
I mean,
two of them are on the Modcast. I'll let you guys figure out who the two are.
Wait, Ket said you can't mute people? Oh, okay. Well, damn. I gotta go back and check that list.
Yeah.
No, that's funny. But yeah, no, I mean, parting shot wise, I would just if there's any borderline baseball fans in there, this is kind of a dead spot for football season. Everyone kind of knows that. So check out the baseball team. I mean, they are a legitimately fun team to watch. I mean, they're not a perfect team, but I mean, they're going to be in the mix. Like we said, they might be hosting a regional. If you like pitching, they've got two studs at the top of the rotation. If you like hitting, they've got a freshman hitting leadoff. They've got, seniors down, at the bottom of the order. It's an exciting team to watch. They play an exciting brand of baseball. So I would say, if you're looking for something to check out, then go ahead and check out the baseball team, man. Conference tournament this week, regional next week, maybe in Austin. You can head out to the Dish, and then, we'll see how far they make it from there. But yeah, I mean, that's what I got from a parting shot standpoint. Is it's a fun team to watch. So if you're a borderline baseball guy or you're just looking for something to kill time before football season rolls around, I would say check out the baseball team. It's pretty exciting time of year.
Awesome. All right, so my parting shot will be. I kind of talked about this with Jason, but I'm going to say thank you to all the teachers. You guys are about to wind down the school year. Friday is going to be the last day, at least in the Leander ISD. We got graduations. Everybody's going to be at the HEB Center, I guess, in Cedar Park, getting their thing. But you know what? Thank you for all that you guys have done, taking care of a lot of those badass kids. I don't know how you guys do it. Hearts of gold for what you guys are able to do, what you guys are able to accomplish. So thank you guys. I hate summertime because I got to deal with my kids for 3 months, but you guys have to deal with them for 9. So I guess it's a fair trade-off for me to actually have to stay in it. Now, I'll be looking for you guys in August. Don't get me wrong. I will be pushing them little badasses out the door, and I cannot wait until school reopens. But I hope you guys have a fantastic summer. Enjoy yourself, unwind. I'll see some of you guys poolside, but I want to say thank you for everything that you guys have done and continue to do. I appreciate you. That's my parting shot. So there's no Jeff Ketchum today, but we appreciate him as well. For Jason, for Alex, for Aaron, and of course for Blake, who's producing behind the scenes. And shout out to Barry, who is obviously always active in the chat. We always appreciate you and everybody else. Nash, the list is too long. You guys have a fantastic Tuesday. Drunk Unk is on Wednesday. You've got K&A. Jason's got the recruiting stuff that's going on this week. Thursday, right? Jason's when you and Cole have
tomorrow
recruiting?
Thursday. We're kind of just fly. We don't have a set schedule each week, so tomorrow Thursday.
At some point, we're going to talk recruiting, and then maybe at some point, Jason would actually be able to talk about a commitment in recruiting. That would be a different show, something that he doesn't get a chance to do. And by the way, the baseball podcast is going to be posted later. There's a ton of content here on the Orangebloods Texas YouTube channel. Hey, by the way, I forgot to say, but hit like, hit subscribe. Hopefully you guys already know the drill, but if you haven't done it, please hit like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends because we would absolutely appreciate it. But for all the guys, all the crew, until next week, you guys take care. We'll see you soon.